Oh yeah.
Happy
Oh my
100th
God,
birthday, buddy.
you're the best, man. Thanks, man. This is crazy. I never thought that this would do this in a million years. I was like, man, maybe I'll do it for a year or so and see what happens. And here you are, thrice on the show, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thricely
Yes,
represented on.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's been 97 other people, really, 96 other people, kind of. John O'Ricks was supposed to, it's funny because when I was doing the math, one time John O'Ricks was going to be on, he got in a car accident, like going to the studio to do it. So I was like, I'm not counting that as an episode. That was, we can take that one out.
Sure.
But anyway, 100, and it's awesome. So, dude, thank you so much for making time. We were just talking before. I am so pumped to see you guys back out on the road right now. How's that been going?
Oh, it's been going great. I mean, we were talking a little bit about like how weird it is to kind of get back on the road in this sort of post-pandemic life, but it took me a little while to get my head wrapped around it, but it's really really nice to be sort of back to that part of my life. I
Man,
missed it.
I bet.
Yeah.
And you got some new toys too. I've been seeing you have some new instruments on the road. And look at Terry just did. Here's one dime for every episode. What a mathematician. Anyway,
Oh man, that's
um,
some fast decimal place moving.
so like there's a new guitar. Do you have like a new Junior? Is that what you were playing? What I saw?
Yeah. So Alex sort of came up with his own sort of shape after Gibson asked him to stop using theirs, and so he came up with his own shape. Me and Zach Broyles from Mythos were, because he was pretty bummed when that happened, understandably so. And Zach and I had sort of said, "Man, you can't throw in the towel. You got to do your own thing. Who cares?" And he was like, nobody likes it, a reshaped Les Paul." I was like, "Well, I beg to differ. And I will literally, you could make it. You could just make me a guitar shaped like a rectangle, and I'll play it." And so yeah, he came up with his own shape, and the first instrument that he built was not actually that Junior. It was another Junior. Was it another Junior? I can't remember. The timeline's all wrong. But yeah, it was a Junior, and so I got that. And it's a absolute rock and roll machine. And then and then couple of weeks back, he finished my second gold top, humbuckers, wrap tail,
Nice.
and it's beautiful. I mean, we could spend an entire episode just talking about that guitar, but
Yeah, man.
it's wonderful, and I'm in love with it.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
the kind of the sea change that has happened throughout my time knowing you in terms of playing like S style guitars and like playing these now, it's been pretty interesting. And there's our buddy Aaron dropping some loot. Thanks, buddy. You're awesome. But it's been, when I first saw you, I saw you with your Sir, and I saw you with your parts caster.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still feel like you're like kind of in the single coil world in a way, or are you like, nah, I think I found my thing, man. Like this is my thing.
You know what? I mean, I'm not convinced that this is where I'll stay forever. But the thing for me with Alex's guitars is I just connect with them in a way that I still have my Sirs, I still have my Collings I-35. They are still beloved instruments to me. They still get used nonstop. But when I leave the house for a gig and I put a different guitar in the case, every time I get to the van, I open the door, I'm like, ah, and I go back and I get one of the Sorokins. So it's just and I mean I'm like, anybody who's like, who knows me or is watching, like I'm a pretty um I'm a pretty sentimental guy when it comes to stuff like that, and to me it's like there are things about all of those aforementioned guitars that you know this problem was fixed with the nut, and this problem, but it's like, but the mojo that comes off of Alex's guitars just trumps all of that technology. And
Yeah.
I mean, not that there are any issues with Alex's guitars. It's really they have your standard sort of Gibsonisms, but we've addressed that in the bridge that we sort of built together. But all that to say, it's just like I just love that. I love those guitars. And
Yeah.
he worked really hard on this new gold top to ensure that it was very familiar feeling. And so uh when I got it, it was like, when you get a new guitar, there's always like a bit of transition time. There's
Mhm.
literally no transition time. It was like, this immediately feels like home. I
Oh,
immediately know exactly who this instrument is. And
yeah.
and if anything, it's a little bit more comfortable to play. So yeah, it's a wild thing. I'm very, very fortunate to be able to own instruments the likes of his.
Yeah, amen, dude. I feel like it's cool to watch that stuff happen because it's almost like you've been doing like R&D to help like make his guitars what they are becoming. You know what I mean? It's kind of neat in a way.
Well, I mean, it's really like, if there's anything, if I'm bringing anything to the process, it's purely organic, because it's not like I'm going to him and going like, let's address this, let's address this. It's just like, hey, this is kind of how I play, and this is what I like. And we did some things with Goldie, like my P90 Gold Top, um, real original name, but that's what we call her, call it. And uh we did some things that were like, oh, it's a cool idea, but in hindsight, it was like, maybe we didn't need to do that. So we walked some of that stuff back. Like, one of the things that I did with Goldie was, I had him sort of reverse the radius of the nut, the way that the strings come off of the nut, so that they're, instead of following the radius of the fingerboard, they're a little less. The strings are a little flatter,
Mm.
um, for slide playing, because I found on certain guitars, depending on the string gauge that I was using, I actually had a hard time getting to certain strings because they sat a little lower in the nut to kind of.
Ah.
So I kind of wanted to work on that, and so he flattened it out quite a bit, and uh, it worked really, really well. But it sort of presented some other issues with how the strings sort of sat. Um, so we did that on the new guitar, but just a little less. So, and it's way better, and worked out a lot better. So one day Goldie may get a new nut, but probably not, because I kind of just like to keep things where they are and let them be who they are. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but Alex is he's a brilliant guy. He's got incredible um, attention to detail, and because he's not building 50 guitars a year to pay his mortgage, he's putting his energy in places that other builders don't get to, because they got to pay the bills, and that's not why he builds guitars. So that's another thing. Like, if I was buying these guitars off of somebody who was trying to make a living, whew, they would be, might as well just buy an actual 54.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
dude.
thankfully, uh, Alex donates a lot of time to these instruments. So
Yeah.
yeah.
He seems like a sweetheart too. I think the last year when you were on for the second time, he sent me a nice DM in there saying, "Hey, that was really cool, man." And I started talking to him, and I was like, "You should do the show." And he's like, "Nobody wants to hear what I have to say."
Oh, everybody wants to. Everybody
I was
wants to
like,
hear what he has to say.
"No, I don't believe that at all, man." Like, so maybe we'll try it again sometime. But
Man, you just got to get him talking about the width of fingerboard binding on 50s Les Pauls. You just get him
okay,
talking about that stuff, and like, man, the things that he knows and the things that he perceives
right,
is like unlike most people. I mean, the only other person who I know goes to quite the same level as Alex is Zach from Mythos.
okay,
You could
yeah,
show Zach a picture of a Les Paul, and he could be like, he could tell you, he could tell you the year of the reissues. Like, he just looks at it and he'll go like, oh yeah, that was like, I had this Les Paul years and years and years ago that they made exclusively for Long and McQuaid, which is like Canada's Guitar Center. They're all across the country, and they were done in a very specific paint job that was called Maple Burst. And one of the things about them is that they came with a little thing of maple syrup, which is like so on the nose. Like, oh, you guys are Canadian, you want some maple syrup? It's like, get out of here. Anyway, that's what Gibson did, and I bought one of them, and they were like super expensive. They only made 50 of them, and I showed it to Zach because I was like, "There's no way he's gonna know what this is because this is just a Canadian thing." He was like, "Did that guitar come with a bottle of maple syrup?" I was like, "What? How did you?" You know. So anyway,
That's great, dude.
nerd.
Yeah, super nerdy. Any new? I know you got. Did you get one? You got one of Aaron's new fuzzes, right? One of the Dominion fuzzes, like the
Yeah,
silicon. And you've been using that a bit too.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
How many fuzz pedals do you have now? Can you even think? Can you even?
Don't ask me that. It's not fair. That's not a fair question. Like I'm sitting here on my desk. I have two right there, and this is my home office. So like, there's next to no gear in here. It's mostly just like a laundry pit. But there's fuzzes everywhere, man.
You gotta try Chris Evans' OCE pedals, that wrench fuzz. You gotta
Oh,
try
okay.
that, man. You really
Yeah.
do. Like, I should probably connect you with Chris because, like, when I played that, it was like it's like a tune-out fuzz. It's like a simple fuzz face circuit, but he's whatever special juice is in there. It's just different than
Hmm.
my normal fuzz faces, and it has like this chewy quality that's like it's very musical. I mean, I don't know. It hasn't left my board, and I don't even know. Chris, how long have I had that pedal? I mean, over a year. It has not left my board. I was just talking to Craig Burkos because I have that third stone, and I had to send it to him to get fixed because the foot switch was messed up.
Yeah, yeah.
And he sent it back, and I was talking to him about that pedal too. He's like, I think I've heard of that, and it's because Chris is a new builder. I mean, he's just been doing,
Since last August, he said.
Oh yeah, since last August. So like, oh yeah, and then Terry dropped some more money here. Look at you, buddy.
Get out of here with
He's
your
a
money. You're too good.
he's a good guy. But anyway, yeah, I got to hook you up with that. Oh, then Curtis is dropping. You have one of his fuzzes too, right? So you got all the fuzzes, all the good
Do I
fuzzes.
have one of Curtis's?
Yeah, you
What's
have
Curtis company?
Mason Effects. You have one of his, right? Don't you?
No, we've talked, but I don't have one of his yet.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to talk to him too. He's going to teach me how to solder. He lives pretty close to me. He's like Northern Virginia area, so we're going to hang out
Oh,
and do
hey,
that. But
there you
you
go.
already know how to use a soldering iron, but I don't. So,
Hey, it's just hot on one end, cold on the other. You know.
I know. I'm so scared to screw stuff up though, Joe. I don't want to like mess up my gear and whatever, you know.
Well, you start on something that's not precious.
That's true. Dude, I want to, because we don't have a lot of time. I want to talk to you because we've never really talked about songwriting in depth together, and we're both writers, and I, love your writing and the way that you do things, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about, like, for instance, me as a young buck. Okay, this is pre having a DAW to put ideas into, even GarageBand. Like, as a young kid, middle school aged, I had a boombox. And it was a two tape deck tape player. So I would record, I would like multi-track with it. So I would record, and then I would have the other one record what's going on from that one and be able to kind of, you know what I mean? Like do it like DIY back in the day. But like I used to just like come up with an idea and then blah, 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 blah words and try to find a melody and then see if I find something I like. Like what did you do at a very young age? Like what was the first, do you remember the first thing you wrote?
Yes. So I didn't really start writing until my probably early 20s. Like not I mean, that's not true, because I played in a band and we had some original tunes, but I didn't write any lyrics. And I've always been a sort of music first kind of writer. Um, and to be honest with you, man, like I've been talking more and more about this lately, but I struggle with writing. Like writing is probably, I do mean this affectionately, but I hate songwriting. Like it's such a hard thing. Like if somebody says, "Hey, come up with something, play me something on the guitar, come up with something random," that I feel like I have so much more room creatively, and I can come up with something. And if I think about it hard enough, I might even be able to come up with something I've never played before. But when it comes to songwriting, it's like I got to work really hard for it. But yeah, the first song that I wrote, um, I was probably, what, I would have been in my early 20s. It would have been like 20 or 21, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What was the
Um,
process? Like, do you remember that process? And like, if you're saying it's like a love-hate relationship in a way, because I'm sure after it's done, you're like super proud. Um, but like, what was the process on that one? Was it banging your head against the wall, or was it like, I'm just going to try something?
Well, I think I've been learning more about my process sort of almost in reverse, because I've been talking a lot about like I've been teaching a little bit again in the last little while. I've been talking a lot about more about creativity and motivation, inspiration, and things like that than actual guitar playing. Um, and and I've been kind of like almost like auditing my own process. And what I've kind of realized is that um, I find it really detrimental to me creatively to like sit and bang my head against the wall. And what ends up often happening is I get frustrated and discouraged, and then I go to do something else. And I do a lot of creative things in my life. Like I don't just play music. I'm like I love to tinker. Or I get a lot of joy out of like running cables and of course, like my whole world is a disaster until it's all ready, and then I clean everything up all nice. That's really creative for me, and like a lot of like fun problem solving. So I find that like my creative reserves are not super deep. So when it comes to songwriting, I kind of write in small chunks. So I'll come up with an idea, either a progression or some lyrics or something, and I'll put them down in voice memos. And then I'll come back to them later and go, "Oh man, yeah, I like that idea. That that would go really well with this other previous idea." And I'll go searching through the archives and I'll find it and I'll go, "Yeah, if I just change the key of this and maybe like massage the tempo or the key signature needs to be adjusted or something, or the time signature needs to be adjusted." I often like will put things together because I do really struggle to just sit and write. I mean, I do a lot of that. My brother and I do a lot of writing that way, but it kind of doesn't wind up um, being my favorite way to work.
Okay.
Um, and I think that at the at the risk of like sounding ranty, we have this like we have this gold standard of what work ethic is, and it's like don't stop working until your work is done, and like
Mhm.
time is money. And it's like I think it and this is like where maybe people will be like, oh, here we go, but I think it has its roots in kind of capitalism, and we have this sort of mentality of how something goes. And with creativity, I just don't think it necessarily always fits that mold. And I will say I know a lot of writers who love to work under pressure and they work really really well, and so that's fine. But it's not a one size fits all. And for me, I think my songwriting and my creativity, all of those things that sort of play into the whole thing that is the music that I make, um, they operate better and they thrive more when I give them space. And
Mm.
um, so I've been telling a lot of people lately, like, if you're finding yourself burning out while you practice, stop. Go do
Mhm.
something else. You know, I come from this world of like, man, shed, transcribe, like do all this stuff. And I don't have the energy for that anymore, but I still want to work on my craft. And I still, more importantly, want to love what I do. And I find that if I push myself too hard, I burn out and then I don't want to touch the guitar for forever. I mean,
Yeah.
and I burnt out right as we were kind of slowing things down right before the pandemic started. And I burnt out so hard that like I didn't, certainly not joyfully, I did not play the guitar until earlier this year. Like I was playing and I was doing sessions, but I wasn't enjoying it.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, I'm going to play this on guitar because this is my sort of mother tongue. I'm most fluent on this, but I was getting no pleasure out of it.
Mhm.
Um, and a few things changed, and I wound up, and that's kind of when I got really into playing Hammond, because it was like a musical outlet. It was new, it was a new language, and it's just like, man, you sit down on an organ and you find the right chord, and you can just sit there and swell the volume and turn the rotors on, and it's just like, well, there's nothing better than that.
No, yeah, I
Um,
agree.
but I think it was just from like all the repetition, no break, and like the thing with creativity is that it's a reflection of your humanity. So if you're not out there living your life, how do you have something to create about? Like, how am
Mhm.
I going to write a song about something if I'm not living my life? And so, anyway, I mean, that's a rabbit hole and a half to kind of wander down. But um, I have been offering that advice to people. Like, if you're feeling like you need to take a break, do it. Don't push through. Don't for you know. And I used to give that advice to people. Hey, man, just push through the idea, push to get to the end, and even if you don't like it, you can edit it later. And I think that that's maybe, for some people, that's bad advice. For some people, that's great advice. I know, like I said, I know lots of people who work really well under pressure and
Mhm.
thrive in that, like, oh, we've got a deadline, we got to get something done. But I'm not like that. Like, I and for whatever reason, that's not my process. So anyway, I've been really leaning into that and allowing sort of myself to dictate what I work on. So
Mhm.
like recently, I've been working on some Coltrane transcriptions because I just was like, I love his playing, and I really don't know much about it. And it's not like I'm gonna start playing Coltrane licks on Brothers Landreth songs, but I just love that music so much, and I love the way that Coltrane played. So it's like I'm gonna learn some stuff, and you know, um, it's so rewarding because in the moment, it's what I wanted to be working on, and was what I was inspired to be working on, and I had a little bit of extra time. So yeah, work on some transcriptions just for the love of playing.
Good.
Um, and I got so much life out of it. Like, can I play over giant steps now? No, but what I got back from spending time with that music was way more than vocabulary. It was just like it gave me energy, and it gave me inspiration. Pardon me. Like, and I felt that special connection to the guitar again, which I haven't felt in a long time. So I think that that's really worth nurturing. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a long tangent about, like, how do you write songs.
No, it's
Uh,
important to talk about this stuff, I think, and, you're so good at transcribing stuff, and, like, I think when you get in the weeds with something like that, just from knowing you for a while now, I just know that you get off on that, and you do find avenues, like,
oh
that
yeah,
that create new things, like, for you to play live or whatever it may be, so, like, I think that stuff is, like, super invigorating, and we've talked about this in the past when I've done lessons with you, that, like, that's one of the best teachers you can have. Is like
yeah,
transcribe shit, and you're gonna find all this cool, like, that's like the fertilizer to grow like the new stuff. Um, do you find a couple of things popped in my head while you were talking, like different questions. Do you find the music can sometimes come easier, like licks, riffs, harmonic progressions, than lyrics? Because me, like, I used to have no problem with lyrics back in the day. And then I went to music school and they were like, your lyrics are shit. You need to start thinking about it like this. And then I did. And now I get in my own head all the time about it. So, like, that is blocking me from finishing tunes because I'm like, what do I have to say? Like, where do you draw, you know, your storytelling from and all that? Like, how does that stuff materialize?
mm. Well, man, let me just say, like, I'm sorry that that happened to you, because that's so dumb.
I know.
Like, and I think, like, you know I
And
hate
they
I
they
hate
didn't
that
say
because,
my lyrics were shit. They just, like, made me microscope it.
well, and
So
they
I was
and
like,
they
"Ugh."
maybe made you feel like they were shit, and in the moment, and like that, and like, so let me go off on another tangent. But um watching my daughter grow up, like, and be this, like, you know be this brand new being, just experiencing the world for the first time. I think I've been incredibly inspired by this process, being her dad and watching her grow into a person, in ways I was not expecting. And one of the things that I find the most inspiring is how completely unencumbered she is by other what anybody else thinks.
Mhm.
And it's like the innocence of a child thing. But I think that there's, like, with your own creativity, we start to stifle those things because we're worried, like, oh, nobody's going to want to hear me say that, or nobody's going to want to hear me talk about that, or um no one likes these melodies, or whatever. We're worried about those things. But the creative process is actually, like, and this is something I talk about a lot in my lessons, is like, creativity is not about making something objectively good. It's only about making something. And as soon as you drop the preconceived notion that what you have to make needs to be valid in any way, that's, I think, when you start to create your best, because you stop worrying about I don't even if I'm working on something, I don't even worry about if I'm ever going to finish it, if it's going to be on a record, what somebody is going to think about it. I just focus on like, what am I trying to say and why am I trying to say it?
Mhm.
And the way that I write from a pretty personal place. I write a lot about things that I'm experiencing, and songwriting and music in general is a very sort of cathartic. I've been jokingly, I mean, it's half joking, but also 100% true, is that music is my pre-therapy thing.
Mhm.
Like I go to music to like start processing things, and then I like get halfway through a song idea, and I'm like, okay, cool. Hi, therapist. Can I come on Wednesday?
Yeah, man.
And so I think it's really, really important to just write from that place and not worry about um not worry about really anything else other than just just make something. Even if you don't like it, make it. And
Yeah.
if you get halfway through it and you're like, oh man, I'm hating making this, throw it away, make something else. And as soon as we make the priority just about being as creative and as honest as you can be, that's when really magical stuff happens.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's kind of where I try to write from. And it's hard, and it's like I'm not going to sit here and be like I'm completely unencumbered by self-consciousness. That's not true. I fight it all the time. But like I now have a bit of a vocabulary with like, okay, I'm starting to feel self-conscious over something stupid. Let's look at it. Okay, yeah, right. That's horseshit. I'm not going to worry about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep writing this dumb song until it's finished,
Yeah.
or working on this dumb song like solo idea or whatever. Just, play the stupid sound. But I think that's a when I watch my daughter play, that's where she plays from. She doesn't play or interact with her environment with anything else in mind other than curiosity. And I think that's something really, really, really precious, and something that we should maybe try to strive for in our own creativity. Like, you and I have bonded over Derek Trucks playing, and like, do you think that guy is like, I wonder what people are going to think about this? No.
No.
And when you watch Derek Trucks play, he is somewhere else, you
Yep.
know, and
Mhm.
he's in a place where he is playing for the joy of it. I mean, I'm sure he has his moments where he gets in his own head, but like and that's what captured me the first time I saw him play, was like, oh man, this guy is somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, I saw him play at the Winnipeg Jazz Fest back in 2007. It was like, he is not in this venue right now.
Yeah.
He is elsewhere. He's deep in it, and it is so magical to watch.
Mhm.
Um, and those are the things, as a guitar player and as a performer, I'm striving for that. I just want to be in that moment. And when I have a bad gig, or I have a bad session, or I have a bad songwriting session, it's because I'm not making that place a priority, and I'm making something else a priority. Like, oh, I want to say something cool. I want these people that I'm writing with to think that I'm cool. All of those
Mhm.
things. And yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
again, yammer, yammer, yammer.
No, dude, this is wonderful because it's like so many of us experience this stuff. We're all human, right? Like it's funny because
Hmm.
I'm getting back together with my old jam band that I toured with in my early and late 20s and stuff. And we went in the studio and I wrote something that I was like, I think this will be good for this band because it's like a jammy kind of thing and whatever. And I was like, what do I have to say? And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to talk about my mental health. I'm going to talk about the shit that's going on for me right now and like what I need to get out to be like, this is what's going on, man. And this is a moment in time. So it's like, it's so cathartic to like
Hmm.
kind of breathe, let it breathe through that music. And it's a positive message, but it's like, you have to kind of be authentic with yourself too. It's like I feel like the times when I write some crappy lyrics is when I'm not being authentic and listening to my like heart or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to be like you said, I'm trying to be cool, or I'm trying to write something that's gonna like be like I don't know, quirky and hip and like clever, and I'm like, stop trying to be clever and just write something that people can relate to. That's what it's about,
Well,
like
I think, yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think if I can push that idea a little further, like the other thing I've been thinking a lot about, and the pandemic was like a wild time for me for self-reflection, because like obviously we all experienced some degree of isolation during that time. And um like, at the risk of oversharing, like, I had a bit of a crisis at the beginning of the pandemic, because all the things that I understood about myself to be true immediately, March, whatever it was, became untrue.
Mm,
I'm not a road dog because I'm not traveling. I'm not a guitar player because I'm not enjoying playing guitar. I'm not a musician because I'm not out playing music. So
mhm.
who am I? Like,
Yeah.
and it like it rocked me, because it put me in a position where, like I said, all the things that I thought defined me were now gone, and I had no definition for who I am. And
Man.
I had to start to look at, like, well, I gotta be something. I'm here. Like, I haven't ceased to exist. I haven't disappeared. So I'm obviously something. It's like, well, yeah, I'm a brother, and I'm a husband, I'm a friend, I'm a neighbor, I'm a guy driving a van down the street to somebody sitting in a car, like, I'm a lot of things, but I don't spend much time being those other things, because even when I'm not touring and being a musician, I'm thinking about it. Or I'm thinking about it, or we're planning something.
Yeah.
And it gave and what sort of processing all of that stuff did was it allowed me to actually just let music be music, and it didn't have to be my everything. It could just be the part of me that plays music. And all of a sudden, I think that's sort of where my joy started to come back, sort of post burnout, was like, all of a sudden music could just be what it is, which is this beautiful thing that I get to share with my friends. And we're very fortunate because we get to share it with other people and
Mhm.
give it to other people. Um, and and then it's those things started to come back. But what I realized is that in that sort of phenomenon that is music, the thing that I get the most from when I listen to other people's music is when I can feel their humanity. Like, you hear
Mhm.
them, and it's not about always being vulnerable and pouring your heart out, but it's about letting yourself be in your music. Um, and and I think that when we're trying to construct things for a certain purpose, um, it's easy to lose sight of what that is. And some people are tremendously good at always being themselves. Roman Clark, my buddy, who plays drums with me and work, plays drums with the Bros now, and he is insanely authentic, like, all the time, and everything he does is just him. And
Mhm.
you could go, write me a song about this in this key in this time signature and in 45 minutes, and he'll go, okay. And he'll produce the whole track, and it'll be done. But he is in that process, whereas I can't write that same way. And my music sort of comes from another place. So anyways, the reason I'm talking about all this is to kind of get back to the thing that you said, um about just writing about what or whatever it is. I think it's just about me, like, allowing yourself to be in the music. And so it's like, how do you do that? Like, what's the process of that? And I think it's for me, it's about making sure that I'm making a priority of the things that I love when I write, the kind of melodies that I like and the chord progressions that I like. And maybe that means that I'll never headline Madison Square Gardens. Maybe that's the truth. And that is okay. I actually don't care, because the being able to make music the way that I want to, how I want to, um, for the reasons that I want to, is so much more valuable um, than anything else. And I mean, we're at a point in our careers where, like, we're not starving musicians anymore. Like, we're not independently wealthy either, but my mortgage is paid. My daughter has a place to sleep, and she's got clothes on her back. And my wife my wife works too, of course. So, like, we're good. So
Yeah, man.
I'm just in this, like, place where I'm like, I don't even necessarily want more. It's like,
That's
this is I'm
success, in my
it
opinion.
really is. It really, really, really is. And and if by making music and writing music in the way that I want to means that I never get past the level where we are now, that's okay. And I think, in hindsight, if, like, the reason that we've had any success, even though I don't think we knew what we were doing at the time, but it's because that's always kind of been the underlying priority, whether we were aware of it or not, you know. And so
Mhm.
I think that like making music and writing music is really um, for all of us, and we all experience this thing when you get to that place, you feel that you have that great gig, you play that great solo. It's not because your amp is at 6 instead of 5 and the treble is here and your fuzz pedal is like, you know, 31 degrees Celsius. It's because you are there
Right.
instead of being somewhere else or trying to impress somebody with the melodic minor lick you've been working on, or trying to sound cool in the lyrics that you write. It's when you show up for all of those things. Um, that's when people buy it, you know, because
Mhm.
in those moments, that's when they're able to see themselves. And I was talking to somebody earlier today, and we were talking about like stage banter, you know, and like how do you and I said, you know, in my younger days, like I was mortified of forgetting lyrics and I was mortified of saying something dumb on stage. But what I've now realized as a performer is that those moments are golden,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's my opportunity to show the audience like real me, you know. And like I forget words on stage all the time, and anybody who's been to one of my shows will have experienced it. Of that I am certain. But it's always a golden opportunity to go like, ah, somebody remember the second verse for Firecracker? And somebody will be like, "Hey, little Firecracker." And you go, "Ah, thank you." You know, that's actually I
Yeah.
think the first verse. Funny enough.
Yeah.
But um, when uh, when I hear music that's made from that place, I'm immediately endeared. And you know, another side of that is like when I hear somebody play guitar and never make any mistakes and just like fucking shred all night.
Right.
To me, I get to a certain point where I'm like, okay, you're so good at guitar, but you're obviously not taking any risks,
Right. Right.
you know? And like, I don't want to hear somebody only play the things that they're super good at. I want to hear you go for it. And, um, because that's exciting. And then like, those are the moments where you see that person's humanity, whether they land the crazy thing or not. It's there where like the hook is set for me, you know.
Mhm.
And when I hear music like that, and I think that it's also like when I have great shows and people leave saying, "Man, that was a great show. I loved that show." It's always the ones where there are those moments. It's not the ones where the arrangements go off perfectly. And the same can be said of songwriting. Like it's not about saying the right thing in the right way. It's about saying the thing that's true for you,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm. Yeah.
And those are always the songs where people go like, "Oh man, when I heard this song, it brought me back to this place in my life and it was healing." Or I walked down the aisle to this song with my husband or my wife. And
Mhm.
those are the moments when you have those things, because if it's true for you, it's true for someone else, you know. And
Yeah.
um like take that with a grain of salt. Everybody makes music in different ways, but that's me, that's my experience, and those are the things that I love, you know. And that's it's important for me to make music from that place because that's where I listen to music from too, you know.
I think it's funny that you say that stuff about, like, when something hits you like that, like Greenhouse, the first time I heard Greenhouse, that song, every time that comes on, if I'm in my car and I have my phone on shuffle or whatever, anytime that comes
I
on,
hit skip. No.
it always takes me back to the first time I heard it. And, like, I've always wanted to ask you this too. I've always kind of tried to think about what that song means to me, like, in terms of how I'm interpreting it. But, like, when you guys wrote that tune, like, what is that story to you?
Yeah, well, so that song, it's sort of like it really kind of started to write itself. And originally, Dave brought the first verse to the table, and it was going to be a song about encouraging someone who is struggling to push through. And we kept trying to write it from that place. And I just kept thinking like, I don't think that that's what this song is about. And we started to write, and we started to like put some ideas together, and the narrative just started to show itself to me. And I was trying to ignore it because I didn't it you know it's um one of the rare examples of one of my songs that's not sort of plucked directly from mine or my brother's stories,
Mm.
life stories. But I remember turning to Dave and saying like, "Hey, what if this song is about someone who's taken their life and they're basically sending a message to the people they left behind, to their partner that they left behind."
Yes.
Did you get it?
That's how I feel about that song, and,
Yeah.
like, I went back and forth about it too over the years of, like, how I'm interpreting it, like, or is it somebody, like sometimes it's this is gonna sound funny, just hear me through. Sometimes when I first listened to that song, I almost pictured, like, a post-apocalyptic Western type of a vibe where where
I love that.
where, like, you know, somebody was at the gallows or somebody was, like,
Yeah,
trying to, like, scream for help, like, "Dear God, help
sure.
me," kinda thing. But then at some point, I came to that conclusion where I was like, "It feels more like they're gone, and they're just, like,
Yeah.
sending some love," you know what I mean? Like, in some way, shape, or form. But it's that's amazing. Like, it's funny because every time it comes on and there are songs, like, I was driving home with my daughter the one day, and, you know, if you sometimes you have your phone on shuffle, like, if it's not hitting your vibe, you're gonna skip the tunes. And I remember skipping, like, a Pearl Jam song. She was like, "You just skipped a Pearl Jam song." And I was like, "I'm not in the mood to hear that right now." She's like, "Aren't they, like, your favorite band?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but dude, sometimes, like, music is, like, you gotta flow with it, man. It's gotta be the right mood for you."
You gotta be in the right mood for like,
Yeah.
"Hell no."
Damn you. So yeah,
Hey,
but, you know
I love Pearl Jam. I love Pearl Jam.
I know you do. But, yeah, it's just like, uh, I find songwriting to be such an interesting topic. And dude, did you watch that Madison Cunningham Tiny Desk concert?
I haven't seen it yet, no, no, but
Joe,
she's so good.
you have to go watch that. Dude, there's the new single that she just dropped. I think it's called like The Life According to Rachel or something. I think it's
Oh,
about her
man.
grandma.
Oh, that
Dude,
song kills me. That song
dude,
kills me. Yeah.
you gotta watch her perform that. She's like playing that arpeggio thing, and like the top note is the her tapping the instrument. So it's the top note of the arpeggio. So she's like, "Dun, dun, dun, dun," like, and I was like, that is the most brilliant shit I have seen in quite some time. Like I
Man,
watched it twice that was weekend.
she
Uh,
is my favorite she is my favorite person right now. Like, I love her guitar playing. Like, she can't miss as far as I'm concerned. She played the Winnipeg Folk Fest. Um, and so in Canada at festivals we do these things called workshops, which are basically um, like writers rounds slash jam sessions. So like you'll get the lineup of artists, and then during the day we host these workshops where it'll be like five different artists on the same stage, and sometimes they're the most magical thing you've ever seen, and sometimes they're literally the most awkward thing because a lot of times the Americans are like, "Wait, what? We have to play another show?" It's funny, but it's just a thing that we've always done at Canadian festivals, and
that sounds fun.
oh, dude, it's like I said, like sometimes I've literally had some of my most important formative musical experiences on those stages, and then also some of my most uncomfortable, awkward moments on the workshop stages.
I'm
Anyway,
sure.
Madison Cunningham did a workshop at the Winnipeg Folk Fest, and she just played by herself, and it was, dude, it was such an education in performance, and she was vulnerable but charming,
Yeah.
and she was like confident and vulnerable at the same time. And her guitar playing was insane. Like I don't even know how to describe it properly because like it's not just about the way she plays, it's about her time, it's about her
Yeah.
execution, it's about how she plays and sings. Her singing was just like, if I walked off a stage and I sang like that, I would just be like, that's it. I
Yeah.
retire. I retire. That's as good as it's gonna get. I'm gonna go back to landscaping.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was wild, dude. It was so
Yeah.
special. She is a just a golden commodity of our
Oh,
generation.
oh my god, dude. I feel like she if she doesn't win a Grammy for this next record, like I mean, I love the fact and not that Grammys matter, but, like, I want her to win. I wanna win for her, you know what I mean? 'Cause I feel
Yeah,
like she should have won that first one. That first record is just amazing from start to finish too.
bonkers. But I mean, this new stuff that she's making is just like it's a progression from there. Like it's still very much rooted in the music that she makes, but it's just more, you know. And it's like
Mhm.
I love that first record as well. But she's just, you know, we're watching the making of a great, you know.
Uh-huh.
Like Madison Cunningham will be one of the greats of our time. I'm like,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that's dramatic, but I just,
I
yeah,
wholeheartedly agree with that statement,
yeah,
wholeheartedly. And, like, I love how the fact that she's starting to infuse more of her music with, like, that Radiohead, like, cause she's a huge Radiohead fan, and, like, you can hear it,
right, yeah, yeah,
and
totally.
you can hear the gnarly dirtiness of, like, that '90s era music that is coming out in her now, and the fact that she plays in all these baritone tunings and, like, has those weird rubber bridges on those jazz masters, and I just
Hmm.
I think yeah, she's just wonderful.
Yeah.
So I would love to see. I mean, I can't remember the last time she came through here, but man, you guys should get on the road with her, man. There you go.
Hey, you know, we tried to take her on a tour through the UK, like kind of before she like right before she broke, and her management team, like they considered it, um, but they were like, um, literally Madison is about to explode, so I don't know that this is viable. And then like within a couple of weeks, it was just like she was massive. It was like, well, the chances of that ever happening, like the
Oh
chances of
man.
her opening for us are over. You know, if we're lucky, maybe we
Right.
can go open for her.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Uh,
funny that I mean, she's like went on tour with Harry Styles. It's so interesting. Like that pairing seems a little odd to me,
yeah,
but like,
yeah.
oh well, that's all right.
Eh,
Uh, who knows?
yeah.
All right. I had one more question that popped up when we were talking about songwriting, about when you were talking about melody and stuff. Have you ever written a tune, recorded it in the studio, sang it, printed it, and then you're like, you know what, dude? I don't think I can sing this comfortably in this key, like night after night. Like, have you changed any keys of tunes for your voice, for like just for longevity of the tour or anything like that?
No, but I have I have openly embraced that I will truly never be a tenor, and I've stopped trying to write in tenor keys.
Right. Okay.
So I was talking about that earlier actually today. So it's kind of it's your timing is mwah, impeccable. But I think, you know, when I was younger, I really wanted to be able to hit those big notes. I wanted the B flats and the C's and all that. And um I constantly was trying. Um but I think in the process of like accepting the fact that I'm actually a baritone, you know, I've got good range. Like it's not like I
Oh
know I
hell
have a
yeah,
good
you
range,
do.
but in the process of like of accepting that, it's actually given me like better access to the higher side of my voice, because I think I'm just not beating the snot out of it all the time trying to sing way up there. And so like I know that I can count on my B flats and C's, you know, close to the end of the set in the songs that really need them, because I'm not trying to do it through the whole set. So
Hmm.
I think with singing and melody making and writing, like writing for yourself, you kind of do have to have a good, like I know my range really well. I know where it ends. I know, like I know where it bottoms out, and I know where it tops out, and I know which notes I can get based on, like, if I do like a it's like, okay, today is not a full voice C day. It's not going to
Right.
happen. If I need to hit a high C, it needs to be falsetto or mixed or something like that, but it's just not going to happen full voice. Okay, no problem. You know, like, so having a good, you know, knowing the boundaries of your voice is really, really important. So with that said, no, I haven't gone back and changed the key of something, but I have deliberately started to embrace lower keys, and I enjoy singing them more because it just
Hmm.
feels more comfortable. And it's not like I said, like it's not an age thing yet, because I actually, my range has increased, but I think it's because I'm singing more responsibly, and so, you know, those parts of my voice are healthier.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's not a thing. Maybe that doesn't make any sense at all, but makes sense to me.
No, yeah, it does. And your voice is so flexible. I feel like anytime I hear, whether it's live or if it's you know, on a record. I feel like there's times you can hear you using it as an instrument. Like sometimes you hear singers and they're just singing, you know, they're not singing, Joey. But I feel like
Girl,
you are like,
sing.
you like definitely, I feel like understand it as an instrument and use it such. And you can hear it on every record, and that's, you know, as a singer, you know, that is very admirable and something that I'm like, man, I gotta figure out how to do that and wrap my head around it, because it's a, you know, it's a mind f sometimes. And you get in your own head about something that's gonna block you from singing the notes you usually can sing.
Yeah,
So it's crazy the way that like our psychology can screw with the physiology of that thing, man. It's
man,
nuts.
it's like, I mean, it's all psychology. You know, creativity is all psychology, and we talk ourselves out of taking risks all the time because we're afraid to be vulnerable. You know, like it's
Mhm.
like it is. I think it's that simple, and then it not only does it sort of stop you from being fluent in the moment, but then it starts to weigh it down. You know,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you like as soon as that those sort of doubts and that like little bits of anxiety start to creep in, man, it's done.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Man.
Yeah,
All right, so John wants to know, how are you getting that crazy step filter blooper thing in Drive All Night?
the,
Is that
like
is
the
it
like
is
the
it the
intro
blooper?
part. Nope, that's the mood, and it's I can't remember what mode it's in. I think it's in like in the in the tape setting on the micro looper side. So the way that tune came in is I'm pretty sure how I got that sound was by playing a harmonic into the mood, and then turning up like it's got a tremolo rate on one of the settings. I can't remember if it's the tape or it's not the stretch mode because in stretch mode it does the stretch, so it might be the other one, which I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. But um, so then I set the tremolo, but I wanted it to be in time, but with the mood you can't sync the clock to anything. So I actually just recorded it into Pro Tools and then chopped it up, which is why I can't really recreate it live.
Ah.
So what I do live is I actually check it out, y'all. I took I took a sample from the record, I recorded it into my blooper, and then I used I'm using an Empress Echo system, and then and so I have the Empress in certain modes. I have the Empress set to not be a delay at all, and it's
Mhm.
essentially just a two-channel mixer. So the delays are set to the absolute minimum. There's no feedback. It's just basically replaying whatever gets played into it. I send the blooper into that. So then the Empress splits the blooper signal into stereo, and then I use my Morningstar MC8 to modulate the left and right volume so that it pans the way it does on the record.
Holy
It was
shit,
like,
dude.
man, I literally spent like months thinking about how can I do this? Because I was like, okay, well, if I get two bloopers and then I record the left and right, like the left into one channel and the right into one channel, and then I send the two bloopers to my wet amps, then that's how I can make that happen. But it was like I'm not really using the bloopers for anything in the Bros show other than as a sampler. Like, and I use it. I'm sampling a couple other spots on the record for that
Yeah.
as well. So it was like I don't need two of them because I really actually don't even need one of them on the board, other than for this kind of
Mm.
ambient thing. So I was like, okay, I want to try and so it was like, oh, maybe I'll get a stereo panner, but it was like I, I don't like any of the digital modeling modulation effects. Like, there's some great ones out there, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to step on them.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna use the the CC waveform generator in the MC8 to send, and then so what I do is I have the output for this is how nerdy I am. Like I have all the MIDI um, implementation charts for all my pedals memorized. So
Of course you do.
the output knobs, because on the ecosystem, it's two completely independent delay engines. So output one is CC message 103, and then output two is 112. So I have it. I have Aaron says, "What language are we speaking?" Yeah. Analog fuzz and then computer programming are my fortes, I guess. Um, but then I have the MC8 set to modulate the left side on a sine wave, and then you can send another you can send the same message to a different channel. You can only send one waveform message from the MC8. So I just send the same message to the other output knob, and then I inverted the waveform. So it goes like this. It's
Dude,
like it is the simplest kind of idea, but in order to recreate it with my pedal board in a way that was like, okay, and then I can also throw this in a case and put it under an airplane was
right.
like, holy mackerel, how am I going to do this? But honestly, that is why I struggle to write songs, because like my brain is like, it's not just on writing songs, it's also like it's so deeply entrenched in how I'm going to recreate sounds, and it's also deeply, I'm focused on making new sounds, and I'm focused on recording those sounds and making sure that they're being captured in a way that I find pleasing. So like my sort of my creative energy goes in a lot of different places. So
You have like this propensity to have like, I feel like you have the mind of an engineer.
who knows? I don't even know if I'm smart enough to be an engineer, but
I think
maybe
you
I'm
are.
nerdy enough.
Nah, I think you're quite a bright fellow, my friend.
Thank you.
Purple Noise, thank you. Hugo's a huge fan. Joey wanted to say hello. Um, what
Hey
else we got
Hugo.
here? Anything else in here? Nothing else in here. All right, dude.
I love that Eagle Ray Rob goes nerd.
Well, we both are. I mean, you take it to new levels. I mean, there's several things on the new record where you probably were like, how am I gonna do this? I got it. Like, and
Yeah,
then it was like down that rabbit hole.
yeah.
So it's
Well,
crazy.
you know what? I mean, it just like it for me, it just comes down to curiosity, and like a lot of these sounds were made out of curiosity, and then following them down the rabbit hole, and that's how I came up with that sound for Drive All Night, and was like, oh, I love this. This is really really satisfying. And then it was like, okay, well now I need to figure out how to recreate it, and like other sounds on the record that are a lot simpler, same kind of thing. Was like, how do I make this happen? you know,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I feel like, anytime somebody puts the extra effort like you to do something like that to recreate things live, because you could have just not done it. You could have just played the tune down,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and it
for
would have
sure.
been fine.
And we have rehearsed the show without any, like, I have like a line 6 HX stomp with all of my I need these sounds for just in case everything goes down, and I can just take it out. It's like, oh, the show is
Right.
still great without any of this shit. But that stuff is really fun for me, and if I'm having
Mhm.
fun, then I'm gonna put on a good show.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's. Hey, this Jacob Lurheim asked this twice. Will there be vinyl records available for purchase when
Oh,
you
okay. Yeah,
European
yeah.
tour? Um, you know what? There probably won't be, because the backlog of vinyl orders is just crazy. So unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna have vinyl for that tour. We're working on it though. So
Yeah. The vinyl industry is a little weird right now. I mean, there's a lot of like that one plant burnt down, and then there's some
yeah,
stuff going on in that industry. So,
yeah.
all right, dude. Let's do the lightning round get down for the third time, episode 100.
Let's do it.
Now I changed it up because you've done this. This is your third time. So today we're going to do this record or this record. Got
Okay.
it? All right, here we go. Sergeant Pepper or Abbey Road?
Oh, Abbey Road.
Okay. Shake Your Moneymaker or Amorica?
Amorica.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
You know what song I think you guys would crush, would be super fun to see you guys play?
Mm.
Is Wiser Time.
Oh, I used to play that in a band. Yeah.
Oh shit, you guys should cover that sometime. Just randomly. Just pull it out. That would be
Okay.
dope as shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Bop Till You Drop or Get Rhythm?
Oh, I choose Death. Man, those are literally my two favorite Rakuda records.
I know. I did it on
I'm.
purpose.
Oh, you're cruel. I'm gonna go with Get Rhythm, but I'll never forgive myself.
Okay. Houses of the Holy or Physical Graffiti?
What records are those? What band is that?
Zeppelin.
Oh, you know what? I don't really know any of those records, so
Really?
I skip. I know I'm a bad guitar fan.
Oh, you nerd. Versus or Vitalogy? I had to.
Versus
Okay. 2 drink minimum or Krantz, Carlock, Lefebvre?
2 drink minimum.
Okay. Revelator or Made Up Mind?
Revelator. That is such. I mean, they're incredible records.
Yeah. All right. Stone Temple Pilots. Purple or Tiny Songs from the Vatican Gift Shop?
Oh man, that's another cruel one.
Those are
Purple.
great records. Yeah, those are great
Yeah.
records, dude. Sailing Shoes or Dixie Chicken?
Oh,
Sorry.
man. I mean Dixie Chicken, but also Sailing Shoes, but Dixie Chicken.
All right, cool. Weezer, Blue Album or Pinkerton?
You know, I don't know those records either.
Joey, come on, man.
Man, like if you want to talk about Steely Dan records,
Okay.
that's what I grew up on. But
All right. So then, what are your top 2 favorite Steely Dan records if you had to choose?
I mean,
2.
Asia.
Yeah.
Royal Scam has got some unbelievable guitar playing on it. Katie Lied. I don't know.
Yeah. Some good shit.
I mean,
Dude,
the Night Fly, but that's not that's a Fagan record, but
it still sounds like Steely Dan.
I know.
Yeah.
Man, have you ever heard Walter Becker's solo stuff?
No.
Recipes. Dude,
Have not.
go and check out. It's a weird sounding record, and it may even put you off at the beginning, but go check out 11 tracks of Whack.
Okay, let me write it down.
It is it's Walter Becker's solo record, and you know how like Donald Fagen's solo stuff kind of sounds like Steely Dan. Well, Walter Becker's stuff sounds nothing like Steely Dan. No,
dope.
it is literally so weird, but some of the coolest music I've ever heard. Like I've never heard anything that sounds like it. Literally, and like on a bunch of the tunes, there's like I can't remember who it was, but like some seriously heavyweight fusion playing. And so like, yeah, anyway, you'll dig it. You'll dig it.
Like Krantz Krantz played on Fagen's records, right? He played on a couple of those, I think. But did he didn't play with Walter, did he?
I don't think so. No, and then I mean like the Walter Becker stuff is so bizarre. His second solo record is a little more in the center, but the first solo record is just like, what is this crazy circus music? It's wild. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I need to check out. I have like several records I need to listen to all the way through that I just haven't, like I've bought and haven't listened to them, but like the latest one that I've been like just in love with is Gabe Dixon's new EP. You know, he's playing keys with Tedeschi Trucks now. He's been in that band for a few years now. That's how I met Derek. So I know Gabe. So Gabe is like pals with like Jono and the Wood Brothers, and like when I got to know Jono, I'm a big Gabe fan. Like he had a song in that movie The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds, Sandra Bullock. It's the opening track of the whole thing. And when I first saw that years ago, I was like, holy crap, this song is so up my alley. It's like that, like Elton, Billy Joel meets Ben Folds type thing. Like he's, you know, killing piano player. But he played on my single. Did I send you my single that I did in Nashville last year? I don't know if I sent that to you.
I don't know. I mean, I can go find it though.
He played B3 on it. I played the piano and the guitar stuff, but he played B3. And his new record is called Let Me Be Your Melody, and it is friggin' so good. And that new track, and that new track that Tedeschi Trucks just dropped off of, or the new EP, you know how they're doing like 4 EPs right now? That song called Gravity. Oh man, he sings on that. He co-wrote that, but he is, you would love his piano playing and his B3 playing. You would love it.
Cool. Okay, I'll have to check him out. Hey, there's a couple questions here that I want to hit. Jorge asking.
Well, here's a double. Oh, where's Jorge?
Right underneath them. If we're coming to Mexico. we don't have any plans for Mexico right now, but we did do a lot of PR for the new record in Latin America. Like we did a bunch of press in Mexico and then in South America. So um, dying to get down that way. So we just need an excuse. We just need a festival to come and bring us down, and if we can get a festival to book us, then we can do it. Then we we would have a great excuse to do a tour. But right now, unfortunately, there's nothing on the books, but I would love to.
Yeah, that'd be
So
sweet.
yeah, thanks for asking.
I have
Either of
not.
y'all,
Have you?
I have played several.
Ooh, look
I
at you.
I've played.
Yeah.
uh, I've played maybe three or four,
Mm.
um, and with varying sort of degrees of success because Dumbles are like they're so he built them so specifically with the individual in mind, and I plugged into one that was just like this amp sounds awful.
Oh,
Um, and then I've played a couple that were like, oh man, this thing is unreal. So
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, they're pretty wild creations, that's for sure. And the world lost a great mind.
Yeah, that's crazy. Thank
Mm.
you, Rob, for that. And then here's one more. Coming to California, Bay Area, Sacramento.
Uh, what do we have coming up? I don't think so. I don't think so in this year. Hopefully next year. Hopefully next year.
Are you guys coming back down near me anytime? I mean, you came kind of close, but it was. And then
Yeah,
you were at the Hamilton a while ago, and I was gone. I was out of town when you guys were here for that.
we were at the Hamilton in 2019. Um, yeah, that's 2020 and 2021 just sort of
Mm.
like disappeared.
Where did it go?
Um,
I thought you guys
yeah,
recently played, or was it the City Winery
we
near
did the
me?
city winery in DC.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's when
Yeah,
I was out of town, I think. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
well, hopefully.
yeah.
Oh yeah, because so Curtis and I were gonna go to that, but I was out of town. Curtis Mason. Um, but yeah, I think he was there. Curtis, you were there, right? I think you went to see
Yeah, he
those guys
was.
that
He
night.
was. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we chatted after the show a little bit. I think. I'm
Nice,
pretty sure.
nice, nice. Um, well, dude, anything else you want to plug? Anything else going on? I'm so happy to see you. It was just nice. This flew by.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, we've got UK and European dates coming up in 2 weeks. I leave a week Sunday. Somebody was asking about that pedal show. Yes, we're doing another episode, which will be super, super fun. And I will go all the way into the weeds, I'm sure, with the new board. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, if you're in the UK or you are in the Netherlands, Germany, or Denmark, go and check out thebrotherslanders.com or our Instagram page or my Instagram page, and go check out if we're playing somewhere near you. And then what else? Yeah, we've got Western Canadian and some US dates. I think I'm one trip at a time, so that's one trip
Right.
ahead. But go and check out um, our website again if you're sort of in the western side of North America, and see if we're coming your way. And then the other thing is we're playing a hometown show November 5th. So if you are in Winnipeg or you're somewhere near Winnipeg and you want to come and see us, we're playing at the Burton Cummings Theater November 5th. And we can't wait.
That's awesome. Sleep in your own bed that night. How beautiful is that?
Oh, woo, so
Dude.
good.
Oh,
So
that's
good.
amazing. Well,
Yeah.
dude, thank you so much. And let me gush really quick. So for anybody that's new here, so I started this in 2020, in August of 2020. And Joey's been a great friend and mentor. And said he would do this the first show. We're on the 100th show. And here he is for the third time. Dude, I don't think anybody will meet a nicer musician.
Ah,
You know how they say don't meet your heroes? That shit is not true. Don't listen to that stuff. And I'll say that too, man, about Derek. Like when I met him, what a wonderful person. Like I
yeah.
know you met him too. You should tell your story quick before we go. But like when I went backstage and was hanging out with Gabe, I was like, Gabe, can you talk to him and bring him in? I don't want to be that guy. He's like, I got you. I got you. And
Yeah.
he pulled him over and it's funny, I had Ariel's shirt on with that 3-3 with that mockingbird. Oh, by the way, mine's coming in like 2 weeks, buddy. I'm
Hey.
excited about that. But he was like, look at that 335. And then we just started talking, and like he could not have been a more gentle, wonderful human being. Like I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. Like, and my buddy that was with me that night, he's not a musician. He was standing off to the side like this the whole time. And then we got in the car. Like it's a joke now where he'll like text me and he'll like, hey, remember that time when Derek Trucks like your shirt?
Yeah, yeah.
I
You like my
remember
shirt?
that,
Do you want it? I'll give it to you right now. You can have it. What
right?
size are you? But take it off right now. I don't care. I don't mind being shirtless.
But you met him when you guys were playing at a festival, right? Like you guys were playing and then you saw him.
He played in 2007 at the Jazz Fest that happens in Winnipeg, and I played in a band that was opening for him. And so after the show, there's a pub in town that had at that point in time was like one of the sort of main live music venues, and it was affiliated with the Jazz Fest. So it was like, all the artists who were playing Jazz Fest could go there and drink beers for cheap. So we were walking, the band I was playing in, we were hanging out after the show just on cloud nine, and we walked past the patio at the King's Head pub, and Derek was sitting on the patio having a beer with Mike, the singer. And this was in the Derek Trucks band days. And so I just was like, I sort of walked up to him and was like, man, we were in the band that opened for you. I don't know if you caught it, but that was one of the most important shows I think I've ever seen in my life, and just thank you for the music. I'm such a big fan. And he was like, oh man, that's really great. Hey, we're gonna go inside and grab a beer. You want to come and hang out? And then we just hung out for like a few hours, and it was right when at the time when they were built. I remember because they were starting. I don't know if they had started or if they were just making plans to build the studio that they have now. And he was just like, it just did not feel like I was speaking to a guitar hero. He was just so kind and generous, and the dude is one of Eric Clapton's favorite guitar players, and you just would never know because he was just such a kind guy. And then I opened up for him a handful of years later, when he was back for the Jazz Fest, and I opened up solo, and I got to very briefly sort of chat with him, and Tim LaFave was playing in the band at that time, and
Yeah, baby.
so it was cool. But Derek didn't remember, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I would not expect him to remember talking to a guy 7 years prior at a jazz festival, like when he, I was still drinking back then, and I'm pretty sure we were hosed by the end of the night. But it was just like, oh yeah, man, I actually got to hang out with you, when you played the Jazz Fest before. And he was like, oh, dope. Oh man, I'm sorry, I don't remember. And it was like, just
Yeah.
as good as it gets, and
Yeah.
just yeah, absolutely meet your heroes. And I've met a lot of my heroes now at this point. I mean, the only one that I haven't actually really met is Rye. And
Oh yeah.
and I'm sure that he's just absolute gold. But I've spent time with Bonnie Raitt. I've spent a little bit of time with Derek, Kevin Bright, and all these people, because I think we all just kind of come from the same place. We're all just trying
Yeah.
to play guitar. We're all just
Totally.
trying to make music. So
Yeah. And how amazing is that to have a legend like that cover your song and play it on like national broadcast TV and like, I mean, come on, dude. Like,
yeah,
what
it's
the hell?
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm still reeling from it. It's like every now and then somebody will be like, "Oh, hey, congrats on the Bonnie Raitt thing," and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, wow, what?"
Well, that's the
you
thing.
know,
You should make it Brothers Landreth shirts. I say, remember that time when Bonnie Raitt covered our tune?
I'm really really excited for the first time that we play a show and somebody goes, "Hey, love your Bonnie Raitt cover," and
You know it's gonna happen. That's so great.
it absolutely is going to happen. And
Oh,
I
man.
won't correct them. I will just say, "Hey, thanks."
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, Joe, dude, thank you so much, buddy. It's always so fun to hang out with you, man. So I appreciate you.
Likewise.
And then everybody, take care of yourself, take care of each other. It's really important that you do that. And we'll see you next
Mm.
time. See ya.